Copy that. Awesome. Thanks so much. Perfect. Phew. Just felt all and each and every particle of my own sag with relief at the joy at the news that the Chitwa dam wall is dry enough to drive on. So we've got a whole collection of birds racing along. There is something so prehistoric about the way in which hornbills jog. And they leave behind a very characteristic banana-shaped track. Very, very different to that of the other passerines like doves and starlings. And that's because they've actually... Hey, come back, I'm talking about you. And that's because they actually have a joined toe, or a partially joined toe, on the outside edge of their foot. So obviously, like most birds, they have, or the majority of birds, they've got 3 forward-facing toes and 1 backwards-facing toe. And on the outside of each foot, the toe is joined ever so slightly to the middle toe. I'm not quite sure why that is. I guess it has to do, there's a red bolt, the same applies. I'm not quite sure why that is. I don't know if it applies to something to do with balance, perhaps. The way in which they move about. Maybe it has to do with assisting with perching. But I'm not 100% sure why it might be that hornbills... Oh, hold on. Standing by. Somebody's trying to call me. Not this morning, but I heard that there's a possibility Tingana might be around there this afternoon. I'm going to check on that side and let you know. Apparently, Tingana had a kill and perhaps this is news for Taylor, because she's operating around that area, but I'll call it in on the Game Drive radio as well. Apparently, Tingana was around with a kill just to the south of our boundary. And apparently, he's left the kill. So there's a good chance that he might be around about somewhere on Djuma, which is exciting news for us, of course. So there you go. That's what that update was. I'm going to share that with the rest of the northern vehicles, which means switching onto Game Drive radio. Marvelous news! We've found Taylor. Let's find out how her adventures have been treating her.
You have indeed found me. I'm almost as easy to find as the impala, though. Now, what we've actually done, I'm going to jump out very quickly, is Craig and I have been quite sneaky this afternoon. We decided, while the gremlins were attacking us, to go on a bit of an adventure, and that adventure entailed us jumping off of Mumba Road and driving on a sneaky 2-track. And we've driven this quite a few times because on a number of different occasions we've actually found Karula around here. So what I wanted to do, I would love to come and check around this pan. I'm just going to do a quick walk around very quickly and try not to slip in the mud, just to see if I can see any fresh tracks of any animals that have been here. Now, hopefully I'm not going to fall in the water, so I'll go past there very quickly. But the soil is indeed nice and soft, as you can see around here. And if a leopard were to have come and had a drink, or a buffalo or anything like that, there would be very clear evidence of it around here. Nothing so far, just lots and lots of impala tracks. But there are plenty of mud wallows at the moment, and I've discovered it's because I almost drove into one. Just have a very quick look. Some of them could be quite old too. Oh. Little insects and things jumping back into the water. Now, of course, as I'm walking around, I'm quite cautious. I've now just disappeared out of frame, but I shall be back with you in 2 seconds. Oh, that's very sad. None of the footprints that I was actually looking for, unfortunately. No leopard tracks here. Like I said, just lots and lots of impala footprints. Let's jump in. Let's continue with this road and see where it takes us. There's a beautiful boerbean that was behind me, quite far back. And I was really hoping we were going to find some leopard hiding in that tree, because it's just got so many beautiful branches or beautiful horizontal branches for a big cat to lay on. But nothing out here just yet. But we'll keep searching. And I'm actually quite impressed to see how long this road has lasted. The last time I came through here was actually on the last TV shows. I was out tracking. And it was one afternoon. I think it could have been a rehearsal show where I'd found Karula drinking from that pan.
walking through some of the bush at the moment, just looking around for some interesting animals, and we just had a herd of impala just in this little thicket line behind me. A male was trying to herd these females together. I think he was potentially trying to mate with them. That's why they were just in the thicket. But they saw me. There's one female just running off not too far. See if the others are still around. And I can hear them, and they've just moved back up onto the clearing in quarantine. There they go. They're just moving through there slowly. It's a bit tricky to see them. The grass and the bush is so thick at the moment. I'm just trying to have a look what else I can find around here while I'm out here. Dear. Some fresh elephant dung from a small elephant. I think, you know what, it's actually not fresh. I think this is still wet from all the rain that we had. It doesn't smell like it was fresh elephant dung. I'll bring it closer and show you. Some of you might be thinking it's crazy to smell the elephant dung, but it's clean. It's basically just broken material and grasses. That's all it is. And gotta watch out for the buffalo thorns. A buffalo thorn tree over there, very, very sharp tree, as you know. Some of you have heard us speaking about it many times before. It is very sharp. Have a look at this. So this looks like from a very small elephant, not a very big dung ball. You can see it is wet, but I think that's from the rain. And if I smell it, I smelled it earlier, but look at all these twigs. See that? I mean, that's barely digested. It literally passed straight through the elephant's digestive system. And yeah, this is just wet from the rain. It doesn't smell like that fresh elephant dung smell that you can smell. It's kind of a musty, grassy dung smell. That's the best way I can describe it. And this just smells like wet, almost wet soil. So it's not a bad smell at all, but it's definitely just from all that rain that we've had that soaked this dung. Now, because of all this dead plant material or slightly digested plant material, you can see. But have a look here. I mean, we saw that little branch. Look at that little twig. That's quite thick. This elephant's fed on. There's a lot of grass material in there too. So you can get a good idea of what they feed on. There's some leaves in there. There's a little leaf in there too. So just by looking at the dung, you can tell exactly what they fed on. But it's quite interesting to see, especially with a small dung ball like this, what these young elephant do feed on. I didn't hear what Alice just said. Get rid of that then. Just clean my hands in some grass here. So there's another one of these beautiful butterflies. I think it's one of these acrias kind of flying around here. There it goes. Sit for us, please. I mean, this light is perfect to see a butterfly too, but they just don't want to sit. They're flying around this beautiful silver cluster leaf. A few down here too. Come on, let's see if they'll sit. Need to be patient. I always wondered, it's fascinating when I think of those people who go out and catch butterflies and you see them swooping their nets and trying to catch the butterflies. It's almost like a dance, isn't it? Trying to catch butterflies. I don't know if I could do that. I don't think I'd have the patience. But it is fascinating, and I was chatting to somebody who studies butterflies in South Africa, and he was telling us how it's so interesting. Every butterfly performs a different role in nature. Now, butterflies in certain areas, say for example in the Cape, they do studies where certain butterflies at certain times of the day will go up and they basically meet at a certain level of a little mountain, and each species of butterfly meets at a different level up to the right to the top of the mountain, and they'll mate. And that's they target specific plants, so they pollinate specific plants, and each butterfly has a different role or different niche now that they fulfill within nature, and that's just the role that they play. And it's amazing how this time of day you're likely to find these butterflies at these levels. This time of the day you'll find find these butterflies at these levels. It's incredible. And I mean, it takes so much time and effort to study these butterflies that even some of those scientists don't know all the species. They still get asked daily about different little species and that. And also there's some color variations, slightly different parts of the area. It's amazing. It's an incredible topic. The butterflies are wonderful creatures, but it's very difficult to get your head around if you're not doing it every day. There's another one flying there. Well, the sun has come out. It's a beautiful afternoon. Just scanning around to see. I was hoping we might get visitors. You never know. We've had elephant in that walk past the tent before, but not this afternoon. It looks like we're on our own. You'd like to know, what does the Safari Live team get up to during the day? Well, I suppose we all do something different, to be honest. The presenters don't really do very much, if I must be honest. Let's be honest, we don't do very much during the day. Sometimes it's the odd little interview or but we don't do much. I have my business to run, so I do have to reply to emails, and I'm constantly, not constantly busy, but I am busy. James will argue with me, but I am busy. James does a lot of editing and voiceovers. For some reason, he's the voice of Safari Live with James Henry. I don't know why. So James is the voice of Safari Live, and then who else? The cameramen often have editing to do. Some of the stuff they record while out on drive, they'll go and put on a server, so they've got a little bit of work to do. The girls in the FC, they shout at us, the presenters, tell us what a terrible job we're doing, and then we have a little argument, and then they go and they type on their keyboards and type up reports and so on. Then who else is there? And that's it. A lot of people actually exercise during the day, which is quite nice. Trying to stay fit. I must be honest, I have not exercised for quite some time. I'm being a bit lazy. I blame a rugby injury. That's my excuse. What else? That's about it. Lunch is usually around 1:30, 1 o'clock, somewhere around there. So lunchtime, and then talk a bit of rubbish, tease each other, and then get ready for afternoon safari. That's it. Now, George, speaking of lunchtime and food, you wanted to know about baboons, and have baboons ever visited the tent? Not that I've seen, George. No, they haven't come close to the tent. Dave, have you ever seen baboons around the tent? No, I think with us walking around and making so much noise, they won't come to the tent at all. If we had to leave food out and around, then that would cause a problem, and they'd most likely come to the tent. But at the moment, no, I've never seen baboons come here. And again, we're walking around, we're sitting here, we're making a noise, so chances of seeing baboons are highly unlikely. Yeah, not here, but when we're not watching, they raid the camps in the morning, and they've been to our camp, actually, luckily, not for the last few mornings, from what I understand. I haven't heard them, but sometimes early mornings when we're all out, and I'm thinking maybe it's because of the rain. Now that it's cleared up, we'll see tomorrow morning, but they've got little bits and pieces of food from the kitchen. Now that's a problem. Once they learn that there's food there, they'll come back, and it becomes a real issue. So we've really got to make sure everything's closed up properly, so we don't have that problem with baboons, because they can cause huge amount of damage. There's a hornbill that I heard flying. Have a look. Oh, a bit far. No, I just saw some hornbills. I just wanted to see if we could have a look at them for you, but they've just flown into a tree. It's not a great view of them. Cosmic Traveler, you wanted to know who are the best hunters in the bush. Well, I think I would have to say the wild dog and cheetah are probably the best hunters in the bush. In terms of the big predators, we'll get to some of the other small animals shortly, but in terms of the predators, the most successful are the wild dog. When the wild dog will run and hunt together as a pack, they are extremely successful. Because they are persistent hunters, they'll be able to run down their prey, corner them, and they'll work together to capture those animals and hunt those animals. Like impala, for example. I've seen wild dog, though, go for large antelope like red hartebeest. I've seen them go for oryx in certain parts of the Kalahari where they do find wild dog. So yeah, they'll go for just about any size antelope if it's there, if it's around. But they are very, very, very efficient hunters. Alright, now Talon, we're speaking about different antelope that wild dogs feed on. You wanted to see antelope horns that we have in the tent over here, but wild dog probably won't necessarily feed on these antelope because we don't get them in these areas. Now this antelope that you wanted to see are the springbuck horns. Let me get them for you. I'll bring them out there, Dave. My binoculars. Always remember to keep your binoculars with you. So those are the beautiful springbuck horns. Look at that. I'm telling you, the springbuck horns are much smaller than that of the impala. And you see the males, both male and female, have horns, which is interesting. The male horns are slightly thicker, and they do bend more back and curl in, whereas the female horns are a little bit thinner and they just curl out and in. So the males do come back a little bit more, so they've got a bit more shape to them. But it is tricky to actually tell the difference between male and female springbuck to the untrained eye. You have to look and learn very carefully, and then once you've seen the difference, the main difference is what to look for. You can spot the males from the females. You'd think that the size and that, but the size, they're quite similar in size, the springbuck. But we don't get springbuck in this area at all, in the greater Kruger. Springbuck occur in semi-arid to desert areas. So down in the south central part of South Africa, and then of course to the northwestern part of South Africa, and up into the desert areas. So that's generally where we find springbuck. So the area known as the Karoo is very well known for the springbuck. That's the southern part of South Africa. Very good farming area. A lot of farmers down in the Karoo, for some reason the carrying capacity of the grass is very good, or the land. It means that there's a lot of nutrients for the animals that are farmed there. Angora goats, sheep, cattle. And you get a lot of springbuck occurring naturally in those areas that sometimes jump between the different farms down in those areas. Alright, well, on that note, Jamie is looking at a nest, apparently.
I am looking at a nest. I'm looking at several nests, and in fact I'm looking at an entire waterhole that is, as usual, teeming with life out here at the Chitwa Dam. So we've just been very busy doing some filming, but we've finished up for now, and I've just been sitting enjoying what is a truly spectacular view this afternoon. The hippo don't seem to want to hang out too much on this edge anymore, but that makes sense because the water is so deep that they've gathered together in the shallows right at the back. And Senzo, they're over there, right at the back underneath the fish eagle. Oh, there's also a fish eagle. We saw that fish eagle flying a little bit to the right. Oh, there's some waterbuck too. A little bit further to the right. There we go. There's the fish eagle. We saw that fish eagle earlier. Senzo did such an amazing job of watching it fly. And then beneath it is the hippopotamus, lurking in the shadows and enjoying their afternoon. And I think there's a distinct possibility that one of those little hippos is the one that Brent saw when it was only, gosh, how old was it? It was only a few hours old. It was such a special surprise in that particular TV show, especially because I'll let you into a little secret as to what happened on that TV show when that baby hippo was born. I think you might all enjoy it. When that baby hippo was in the dam, I was sort of obviously trying to go into an ad break to keep people hooked, to stop them from going away, and I knew that Brent wanted to. But as as it happened, unbeknownst to me, Brent had arrived at Tingana and didn't have any signal. So I mentioned that Brent had a very special surprise up his sleeve as a way of keeping things interesting. And of course, Brent had absolutely no signal with Tingana, so that could have fallen spectacularly flat. But as it was, Brent did have a surprise up our sleeve. It just so happened that he didn't know what surprise he had up his sleeve. And it came in the form of a tiny, tiny little baby hippo. I'm not sure if it's there or not. It's really hard to get a perspective of scale just from sitting here. I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure it's around here. I've seen it since. Of course, the fish eagle, that flash of white, and knowing that the hippopotamus have this entire massive dam to play about in. There's the fish eagle. Well done, Sens. I wonder why that other one was thermaling over Djuma. Now, our Naknud, you want to know if there is anything that eats the algae. That's a good question. There will be several different things that eat the algae. There'll be certain species of fish. Tilapia probably will eat a little bit of the algae, although they'll be more after things like mosquito larvae and other things. And you'll find that there's certain species of mollusks, there'll be certain species of bacteria that will consume it. I'm trying to think, there's something else that I'm not thinking of that I'm forgetting. Tadpoles probably might also consume little bits of algae as well. In fact, they definitely consume algae, now that I think back to James's experiment with his various tadpoles in a bucket. Of course, the thing is, there's not that many tadpoles now. We're long past the breeding season. All the hippos are doing some yawns and some thrashing about, playing with each other, intimidating each other. So yes, there are quite a few things out here that will eat the algae, but a lot of them are not that prevalent at this time of year. Peyton, you want to know, speaking of hippos and watching them play, I think that might be the baby. Peyton, you want to know how the hippopod sizes compare to here. They'll certainly be larger in the parts of the Mara where there's permanent water and there's permanent flowing rivers, and that's actually partly a product of the fact that these hippos are having so much fun. Look at them. It's partly due to the fact that a lot of the hippo from this area were removed, and that was done. Now, we always talk about our policy of non-interference, but that was done during the drought for a very specific reason, and that's because the man-made water holes are the reason that the hippopotamus are here. They're actually not really naturally occurring in this particular part of the Greater Kruger, but they've been brought here because there are dams for them. What was that? What's going on there, hippos? See the water churning around? I think they're all pushing and shoving each other around. Playtime for hippopotamus. Where was I? Oh yes, so the pod sizes are going to be much, much, much larger. And that, as I said, is because hippos were removed from this area when the drought struck. And for a very, very good reason. And I'm glad that they were. Sensor, can I ask you a favor? I know we're watching the hippopotamus, and I'm distracted by something, and I want to just see. Remember how the Egyptian geese had a nest? They had a nest over there, where all of those messy buffalo weaver and then other weaver nests combined. You see that little white dot there? Is that an egg? What is that? Is that an... I can't quite work out if that's an egg, because I know the Egyptian geese did nest there, and they obviously weren't successful, because we never saw any chicks come of it. If it is an egg, I suppose that's a very, very precarious spot for it to be. It can't be a foam nest frog. Not at this time of year. That's very, very unlikely. Mystery white object in nest. Any ideas, anybody? Byron has suggested an ostrich egg. It does look like an ostrich egg, Byron. You're right, it must be. It must definitely have been an ostrich. And in fact, ostrich, of course, known to wade into the middle of water holes and to climb up trees and lay their eggs there. It's the perfect safe place because not much wants to swim across the water holes. So ostrich will use their long legs. That's actually why ostrich have long legs, is so that they can wade across shallow water to lay their eggs in this exact position. I'm talking utter nonsense. Please don't believe me. Any of our new viewers, ostrich do not wade into the middle of water holes to lay eggs. I know our regular viewers aren't buying any of that. So Byron has possibly come up with the least likely solution. Any other slightly more practical ones, Byron, or are you done? Oh, that's a good point. I didn't think of that, Kestrel Fox. You say, could it be a fungus? Could be. But actually, that's a possibility, especially after all the rain we've had. Fungus is a possibility. Oh, greenback night heron. That just flew away. Drat. Machine gun nest. What? Sorry? Am I mixing up two thoughts there? Oh, I got it right. Machine gun nests. I'm sorry, I just suddenly thought that perhaps my brain had put the two together and come up with an interesting combination. But machine gun nests, you say it could be bird feathers. It seems a little bit too round for bird feathers. I guess it's a possibility, but it seems unlikely. It is an unidentified white object. Maybe it was a goose egg that never hatched, although I seriously doubt that it would still be here. I think fungus is not a bad suggestion. Surely not a foam nest. There's no other foam nests around. It's far too cold for them. Foam nest frogs make foamy nests above water like this. Kirsta suggested that it is a golf ball. You never know. People might have decided to practice their golf swing across the water. Promise nobody's actually doing that. That's definitely not happening out here. But that is an interesting suggestion. There is, of course, a famous golf course in the middle of the Kruger in Skukuza. And a very, very unfortunate situation, speaking of golf balls, where there was a challenge to dive in and to go and collect golf balls out of the water. And one man, not to imply anything, but I think it's something that quite regularly happens after a post-golf celebration, and a gentleman actually died that way, going in to fish out golf balls. I didn't mean to take that rather strange comment and turn it into something so morbid, but that is something that happened recently. Somebody went golf ball fishing and got eaten by a crocodile. Speaking of crocodiles, I don't see any sign of our crocodiles. Oh, look who's come to visit. How lovely. Guinea fowl. I love guinea fowl, especially in the afternoon light. I've just been spotted by the helmeted guinea fowl. While we sit very still in case it charges, the wonderful news is that Taylor is back up and running. Let's go and have a look at a bird with her as well.
Jamie, I'm very worried about you. Be very careful with those guinea fowl. They are so dangerous. Now, we've got something that's actually baffled our mind, and it's because it is only 2 minutes before 5 p.m. in South Africa, so Central African time, and we are looking at a bronze-wing courser. This is slightly early for these birds to be up and moving around, and I think it's just because they're standing in the shade, but there were 4 of them at one point. The 3 flew off, and only 1 brave soldier stayed behind. But how crazy is that? And this, for me, is just amazing. This just shows you that nature just makes up its own rules whenever it wants and whenever it suits it. Because we sit and we tell you and we see the bronze-wing coursers every single night out on the roads. And it's very unlikely that you'll see these birds during the day. The only time you might see them is if you find their resting spot, perhaps underneath a shaded tree, like we see with the water thickneys near the dam. Or if you disturb them while you're walking through the grass, then you might see them fly up. But to see one out on the road like this is quite phenomenal. Really, really cool. But we're not going to stick around too much with this bird, and I'll tell you why. We're actually going to keep moving before the light fades too much. As Jamie was spot on when she said that Tingana was indeed on a kill south of our traverse, and she said that I should search and maybe we'll find him. Well, we found some tracks, which is really good. So Taxon and I have been searching, and these tracks actually come from the south. They come up Shibamo by the looks of it. They go along the southern road that goes towards Treehouse Dam, and then they're sort of going west. So I'm quite interested to see what happens and where these tracks are going to turn out. So I think what we're going to do now is, because it's been lovely and cool this afternoon, there's definitely a possibility that Tingana could still be moving. So I want to jump ahead before I check Savage's track, and while we've still got good light. So I'm going to go back down these nets and then do another loop and just keep circling. It's either he's somewhere in the block. I don't think he's crossed out yet, because we haven't seen any leopard tracks on that side, and we've driven the whole of Central. So this is really exciting. I haven't seen Tingana in quite some time, and he is such a beautiful male leopard. So I hope that we do get the opportunity to view him this evening, and Craig and I are going to try our absolute best to try and track him down. I already saw Taxon down at the dam. He was off his vehicle with Fanoti, his tracker, and they were searching, trying to pick up and see exactly where his tracks go. But with all of this rain that we have had, some of the substrates around here, unfortunately, when it's not nice soft sand and the animals can sort of sink into, a lot of it becomes even more compact and makes it virtually impossible to spot a footprint on the ground. So that's what we're gonna look for, and I'm gonna go as sort of slowly as I can along Weaver's Nest. You'll see me with my head dangling out the side of the vehicle, just to triple check, quadruple check, and make sure that he hasn't crossed over Weaver's Nest since we've last driven it. Because if he has, then we're wasting our time searching in the area that we're searching, and we need to move our search a little bit further north. Let's give it a bash. Just trying to think. I can't think of what his route is from Treehouse Dam, and knowing the routes of the animals actually help quite a bit. Hang on, like I said, I'm going to be stopping and starting and checking, making sure I don't miss any tracks, because I want the best opportunity to find this leopard. Is that a track? No, that's not anything, not what we're looking for. Now the problem is when you are driving on a road like this, obviously we tend to favor one side, and because I have no door, it makes it very easy for me to see footprints on the right hand side. On the left hand side of the car, it's slightly different, a little bit more difficult, so I have to do a combination of things. I've basically got to look down over here and then also look up and in front of me, because the way that the light is hitting the road now, it will shine and illuminate the track, and I'll actually be able to see footprints on the ground. And once you've been doing this for long enough, you're eventually able to tell the difference almost straight away from a predator track. So something like a hyena, lion, or leopard, you might have to stop and get out to have a look at, but you'll know straight away when it is a predator track versus something like a buffalo, impala, or even an elephant. Right, let's keep checking around here. Who's sitting on the road though? That's not a leopard. Looks like maybe... who is it? I've gone blind. Crested Franklin? Yes, that's exactly what it is. Just sitting at the elephant dung. Good afternoon. Look how beautiful this one is. Got a very white throat. And white supercilium. Something that I didn't really notice. And I don't know why I've never noticed that white throat on the Crested Franklin. And I suppose the longer you stare at the animals, the more and more things you start to spot. But apparently, I have not been very good at the spotting that white patch. Unbelievable. But moved off into the grass now. Thank you very much. Hopefully it didn't walk over any leopard tracks. I wouldn't want it to have squashed and destroyed our tracks. Now, oh, I'm not sure if I heard that correctly. Can you say that again? Sorry, Alice, thank you. Oh, so... Sorry, I'm just having a laugh now. So yes, Di, I didn't hear what you said, but you said you're quite glad that we're tracking. That's what I think I heard, which is awesome. It is Sorry, Alice, I can't understand. Nope. Kitty tracking? Is that the word you're saying? It's just sounding... Oh, God, no, that's very loud. Sorry, so sometimes what happens when you do speak on the radio, you can get a bit of distortion. And it's always fun, and I know all of you watching the show have a good laugh at us when we accidentally mispronounce names or mispronounce words and things like that. But, for instance, sometimes it sounds like people are speaking underwater. So for a moment, I couldn't hear kitty. I could just hear, about 10 times coming from Alice, desperately trying to repeat in a number of different ways so I can hear. So it's always quite entertaining. So yes, so we are kitty tracking, and I hope that we can find a kitty by the end of it, because at the moment there is nothing coming out of here, which is also not a bad sign. It means that the slip is still somewhere here. Yet. And we know once Tingana gets on the go, he moves around at quite a pace that sometimes is quite difficult to follow, especially through some of this longer vegetation. The only issue that we're going to have now is the fading light. Firstly, because it's going to be more and more difficult to track, and then also it's going to not allow us to be able to move out into this area to go and track him on foot. We obviously can't track the animals at night or in any darkness. Let me just stop here. I'm going to jump out. I want to check this pad. Like we were doing earlier, looking for tracks, it's always good to just come and have a look here. He could stop and have a drink anywhere, but this is a perfect spot against the road. But sadly, no leopard tracks here. Nothing fresh. No leopard tracks at all. And again, lots of impala tracks. A couple of... Oops. My bad. Sorry, I almost fell over. Kick the stump there. So no leopard tracks there. So he hasn't come here to have a drink. He hasn't passed through here just yet. And we'll keep on searching. Let's see. And eventually we're going to end up back towards where we had the last tracks, which I'll hopefully show you. Now, Byron is of course sitting in his tent, watching all sorts of things, keeping an eye out on the dam, and apparently he's managed to spot something. So let's go and take a closer look.
Well, I didn't spot something, the dam cam and the Zoomy did, but let's go and have a look, because there is a beautiful bird sitting at the dam, and let's see what bird that is. Now I wonder if we're going to be fortunate enough to see it fishing. Now that is in fact a grey heron that is sitting at the dam, and they are excellent fishermen. They are able to hunt fish in the dam, obviously, as well as frogs. I've seen them actually catch a number of frogs around a dam like this. But that one, to be honest, I don't think it would be fishing right now, because often when they are fishing, or looking for food rather, they'll be wading through the water. That one's just perched on the stump, so I don't think it's interested in looking for food at the moment. Maybe it's been feeding through for most of the day, in fact, and it has decided to just rest for a while. An interesting thing with the grey heron is that they will also be slightly active at night too. So they are both diurnal and nocturnal, which is interesting. Not many birds are, but I suppose it's a case of, especially when they're looking for frogs, they might hang around the water holes, and if there are frogs that they are able to find, they will try and catch them. Oh, hi, Bacon. You say that this grey heron looks sleepy. Well, I hope you're referring to the grey heron and not to me. It does. Well, he's probably resting, as I said. He's resting on that log, enjoying the last few moments of afternoon sunlight. There's beautiful sunlight, actually. Why don't we drop out there for a second and let's go and have a look at this beautiful sunset. See if we can get you a nice view. Come with me. Okay, Dave, I think this is the angle you need to work at. But I think we need to try and get that unusually straight tree out the shot. It's actually lovely. It's so nice now this time of the afternoon. And it really is very, very beautiful. Oh, look at that, Dave. Very artistic. That's beautiful. Some grass and that lovely sunset. It is so nice to see the sun and the clear skies at the moment. It really is very, very, very beautiful. Look at that. That's great, Dave. Beautiful. Now, I wanted to show you something else quickly. I don't know if you come back into the tent with me. Are you right there, Dave? You stuck? Are you good? I've been unpacking my bag and doing all sorts, and I've got gloves around here. But what I did want to show you, and let's see if we can. Dave, is it okay if I hold the book like this? Are you able to see it?
Just angle it maybe.
Is it like that? Okay. Oh dear, the book's everywhere. See, I'm learning while I'm in here. But what I wanted to show you, because Taylor's been tracking a leopard. Now this is a new tracking book that I've got. You see, leopard. There we go. And it's a lovely little photo of a leopard feeding on a python, in fact, and it just this shows you how the leopards have such a huge variety of food in their diet. And there's a beautiful photo of a leopard feeding on a python, which I have seen before. It's unusual, but I have seen before. And then some images of tracks, but here are some very clear leopard tracks. So this is what Taylor would be looking for. Sorry, the glare. There we go. Is that right? There we go. Now have a look. You can see these three little lobes at the back of the track very, very clearly. Do you see that? Now this is the hind foot of a leopard, and this looks like a male leopard. Now this is the hind foot, and there's the front foot, much wider track, but clear three lobes at the back, and the 1, 2, 3, 4 toes. You can see it very clearly, and a nice rounded track of a leopard. So that is what Taylor's looking for at the moment. So I think what we should do is head back to her and see how the tracking is going.
Sadly, no good news to report just yet, but we are getting there. We're now on Savage's track, so we've come around on Weaver's Nest again. No sign of any footprints, and just triple checking, and which is quite sad. So I'm going very slowly along Savage's track, because this road unfortunately is not quite sandy. It is quite hard to spot the tracks. We've just got to check. I'm checking in all the trees. And if I don't see any tracks here, the other thing though, before I even go into that, the other thing is that if he just crossed the road and he didn't actually continue walking down the road once he'd come from the dam, it would be very, very difficult to just spot 2 or 3, maybe if you're lucky 4 tracks on the road that he would have left behind. Whereas, better chance, of course, if he has decided to do a territorial patrol, he'd most likely walk down the main road, an obvious track and mark along something like that. And I have been stopping at every shrub that we've seen close to the road to just check for tracks, check for wet urine, but nothing so far, which is a bit sad. So if he's not here, if he hasn't walked here and say I haven't missed any tracks, he's here. He's somewhere between Shibamu, between Savage's track and Weaver's Nest in this block near Treehouse Dam. But it's a little bit tricky. There's just something I want to just check a little bit further along here, and then I think we'll probably give it one more go. We'll go all the way around down Shibamu again, and then we'll come along the southern road back towards Treehouse Dam in the hope that he maybe gets up and we spot him that way. That's the other thing. So we've actually seen a number of bronzewing coursers. Oh, speaking of bronzewing coursers, here's a pair right now in front of us, and we're trying to figure out why they're out so early. Now, it's not uncommon for nocturnal birds to get going during the crepuscular period, so sort of the twilight, but it's still a little bit early for that time of the day. But maybe because it has got something to do with the temperature change, getting much cooler. Craig and I are both going to have to put on jerseys in a moment. It's getting a bit nippy. And the fact that the sun is going down a bit quicker, casting shadows a lot earlier, they must feel quite comfortable. But they are a lovely bird. Such long legs. They almost look a little bit out of proportion with a small head and such a large eye. But stunning birds nonetheless. And like that lilac-breasted roller that we saw catching the jumping spider, the bronze-winged coursers love to eat all types of invertebrates as well. So from spiders to scorpions, to crickets, to anything that they can find crawling across the road. Pretty cool, eh? Birdie, but I'm very sorry we're going to have to push you out of the road now, very gently, because we are searching for a leopard. And I know that you've all got your fingers crossed, hoping that we're going to find Mr. T this afternoon. I know I would. Let's see, some nice marulas here. A crow. Now you're wondering if the animals often use the roads to walk around on. Yes, they do. It's actually some of their favorite things, and particularly any animals that mark territory, because they're so obvious. They will utilize them more, but they've also got their own roads of their own. They've got animal pathways. No, I'm just checking. It's nothing. It's just antelope footprints. And so we'll utilize them too. Like, for instance, there's an animal pathway. You can just see it's a bit difficult. It's just starting up, but it's almost grey in color, starting to develop again. The grass is all falling to pieces now. But before Jamie's very rare bird flies away, let's go and take a look.
It's gone. It flew away. It's flown. Our bird has flown, everybody. The bird has flown the coop. Well, the bird has flown out of the dead tree that it was in. I was really excited to show you that bird because we hardly ever get them on camera. And he was calling. It was a greater honey guide. And it's probably the same greater honey guide that Steph followed to a beehive. Oh dear, oh well. That is what it is. It is gone. That's half the joy of filming live wildlife. You never know if you're going to get them on camera or not. So that was a greater honey guide, and it basically says, follow me. And what greater honey guides do, or what honey guides do, is they go off in search of both human beings and certain animals like honey badgers, because a honey guide is one of the few creatures that can actually feed off and digest wax. That honey guides and oxpeckers, strangely enough. Oxpeckers eat earwax, which is kind of gross. So a honey guide will make its way to a honey badger or a human being and call them. And you follow them. And if you follow them from tree to tree, and this is something we've actually had on a live bushwalk, they'll take you straight towards a bee's nest. And what they're hoping is that you're going to do the work for them, that you're going to break open the web, or the nest, or the what do you call them? Hive. There we go. Break open the hive for them, and you'll take the spoils of the honey, and then they will get to feed off the remains and off the wax as well. And they'll do it with honey badgers. And honey badgers, of course, well renowned for their ability not to be too concerned about the stings of creatures, whether it be bees or the bite of a snake or the sting of a scorpion. Honey badgers are so tough. I love that. I love that there is a bird out here with whom that instinct still connects them to human beings. Because, let me try and explain what I mean in a beneficial way. Obviously, with a lot of the animals when we walk on foot, they respond by being afraid. Because they see us as hunters, they see us as a dominant predator. Whereas with a honey guide, they see us as a friend, as something to call so that we'll help them out. And I think that's really special. And the fact that it's actually happened live on Bushwalk before is pretty cool as well. You, my friend, are skating on a very fine line, a very dangerous line, by being on Gowrie Main. And in fact, this is one situation where I am going to get out and I am going to move it off the road, because otherwise that is going to be at the rate that it's moving, that is going to be snail shell bits. It's getting dark. There's lots of traffic along this road at this time of evening, and it's tiny. It's a tiny, tiny little giant land snail, which makes me immediately think that it's not going to be seen by a passing vehicle. I nearly didn't see it. So I'm going to jump out and I'm going to go in and rescue said snail. I would hate for it to become flattened. There are speed limits, obviously. Nobody drives recklessly or irresponsibly on these roads, but accidents happen, particularly in the dark, and I would hate for that to be the case. Hello. Come, let's take you up so everybody can have a look at you. No, it's okay. It's all right. You can come out. Hey, look at that. Out after the rain. Isn't you sweet? Tiny, tiny little land snail. It's got a way to go before it reaches the true giant size. Right. Are you peeking out yet? No. This is now terrified, convinced it's about to be eaten. Swept up off the road. Alright, where did you come from? You were going this way. There you go. Minimal amount of interference. Off you go. Continue on your way without getting squashed. I told you the story of the chameleon that I rescued that bit me. Well, at least the snail didn't bite me and to say thank you. It would have come as a serious surprise if it had. So my plan for the afternoon was to show you a honey guide, but since the honey guide is gone, I'm going to tow and see if I can help Taylor. It's getting cool, it's getting dark. Tingana may well be up and about. So what I'm doing is I'm patrolling up and down a bit further to the south of where Taylor is, in the hope that if Tingana did come on to Djuma for some reason, he might be going back towards his kill. Maybe he came for a drink, I'm not sure. Maybe he came to investigate a smell. But he might be wanting to go back to his kill, so I'm making sure that while Taylor's searching Treehouse Dam, I'm patrolling the south. Speaking of Taylor and her search for leopard, I think she's found a clue.
We have indeed got a clue. It's not a very, very fresh clue, but it is a clue nonetheless. Now I'm going to jump out so I can take you over there to have a look. Wait. I actually think I've spent more time out of the car today than I have inside it, which is quite nice. Basically like I've been on a bushwalk. Can you see this track over here, Craig? It's a bit dark. Right, I'm just trying to find a suitable piece of grass. Got one. Now, if you look very, very carefully, come on, piece of grass, you can see that here is the padding. There's the one lobe, the middle lobe, and the outside lobe. And then we've got the toes. And it's not particularly old. It looks like it was most definitely after game drive this morning. It's over the tire tracks from the sunrise safari, which is really good. Now, I'm trying to think like a leopard. If I was a leopard, I've had a big meal. I've moved away from it during the day. I'm probably going to go and have a drink of water. So I think he's gone down to Treehouse Dam. But where he's gone after that is, it's a mystery to all of us. But he goes all the way down the road here. So I think let's go back to Treehouse Dam. Let's jump out of the car, have a search around the water, find out exactly where he's had a drink to quench his thirst, and then take it from there. Because at the moment, I'm not having very much luck at all. And, oh, there goes my earpiece. He could have also veered off again, but I can't imagine why he'd want to go back south. Now, Shelley, you're wondering, why are the leopards down on the ground, seem to be down on the ground more than up in the trees these days? That's actually a good question. We just haven't been seeing them on kills, I suppose, so we're missing them up in the tree. Tundi could not have taken that waterbuck kill up a tree. That's just a bit too large for her to take up. I'm very impressed, anyways, that she was able to bring something so large down. That was pretty incredible. And just think it's just wrong place at the wrong time, just not having the leopards maybe killing things on the property and then treeing them. Sort of everything seems to be happening just south of the property. But remember, these things happen in cycles, and we'll get our turn eventually. Okay, here we are at Treehouse Dam. Going to park us nice and close to the edge, and I'm going to do a very quick walk around. We'll just check this section, we'll check it spot by spot, and hopefully we'll find something. I'll start just here first. Most likely, because of the way that he's come, he wouldn't have started this side. He would have actually taken one of the animal pathways and gone down to that side of the dam, but we'll start here first because we're right here. But now the light is fading, it's becoming more and more difficult for us to see what's actually going on. But we'll just give it a bash. Now, you don't want to be this close to a water's edge for too long because it's quite deep now. I don't know if there's any crocodiles that have made this spot their home. So just look very quickly and then move away. That's one thing with crocodiles. They learn behavior. So if you go fishing in the same spot every single day in an area where there's lots of crocodiles, you'll get yourself... Monkeys are alarming. There were some monkeys, and then I heard a bird alarming too. That's very interesting. I think let's go back around here and have a look this side. What's going on? What's going on? Let me get in first. That's very exciting. Sorry, I always get distracted, but now I've heard this noise. I don't know if it was between Savage's Track and the southern road that goes back towards Shibamu. What road do you think we should take, Craig? Top road or bottom road? Top road.
Let's go top.
Let's go top. Top shelf. Let's do that road. Right. Machine Gun Nest, you've said that possibly he's on Leopard Road. That would make sense. That'll probably be one of the next roads that we check is Ingwe Alley. It's quite fitting. Let's go over the dam wall. I'm going to pick up the pace just slightly because it is the best time of the evening now. It's just getting into that twilight period. It means that they're going to, all the cats, most of them, if they haven't got full bellies and kills and they don't need to go moving around, will start moving, but they won't stay out in the open for very long just because of the very thick vegetation again. So when you do hear an alarm call and you're getting to the point where you're not going to be able to track it because the light is fading, make a move. Make sure you go quickly. So I'll go up a little bit further ahead and then we'll stop and listen once again. Remember, the vervet monkeys, however, have got phenomenal eyesight and they can see for a very, very far distance. And often when they spot predators, they're not alarming because they're right underneath them. It's because they're much further away. So we need to keep that into account as well. And we've driven here already. Let's just see. Sometimes you have to drive a road 100 times before you find what you're looking for. We'll go up another 50 meters and then I'm going to stop and just have a little listen again. Actually, it's quite funny. This is exactly where I stopped the last time to check the ground for tracks. We're all going to listen now. I can't hear those vervet monkeys alarming now. I can hear crested francolins and Natal spurfowls alarming. Not alarming, sorry, just calling one last time. Jamie for Taylor. Just jumping onto the Game Drive radio. I think Jamie's actually looking for me. Jamie, can you check maybe Shibamu for me? I'm going to, somewhere around there, maybe even Philemon's cut line. I think if you come this side, then I'll turn around and I'll go back towards Weaver's Nest and just do a couple of loops sort of further east. If you want to maybe check Shibamu and all those areas. I don't know where he is. He could still just be in the block somewhere here near Treehouse Dam. And Jamie's getting involved now as well, as you heard earlier. So I think because Jamie is actually on Shibamu Road quite close to Gowrie Main, so maybe we'll let her do this route, go up Shibamu and then come back around this way. And then, I don't know, those alarm calls could have been for anything. They've now stopped. So I don't know if they were for a leopard. Because, oh, you're right. Oh my goodness, Craig got attacked by the small aerial. It's got a lot of spring to it. You're right there, Craig. He's cowering in fear. I've never seen Craig cower in fear before. Nothing usually frightens Batman. I cannot believe what I've seen with my very own eyes this evening. I think I got it caught on a tree, so it may have been my fault. Indirectly my fault that caused Craig to get a whooping. Are you alright, Craig? Will you survive? He'll be alright. He's smiling, so that's okay. So yes, so I'm now thinking that maybe those, whatever they'd seen was maybe a bird flying over the top of their head or a raptor of some sort, but they've definitely stopped alarming now. We'll just keep an eye out anyway. And if Jamie's coming from that way, then that gives us an opportunity just to keep checking, because the track's coming from that way going... They could have gone north. We don't really know where they've gone from here. Oh, look back. Just checking. There's some nice trees and shaded spots around the dam, but it doesn't look like there's anything hiding in the long grass. No. There is not anything. That's fine. We'll carry on. Check this way. Lots of animal pathways to keep our eyes on as well. You know what? Do you remember this termite mound just over here? This is quite funny. This has just brought back very fond memories now of Shongile, who I think I've seen her about 4 times sitting on this exact termite mound when she was a lot more little than what she is now. She's definitely grown so much, but very cool. Every time I come past here, I think very fondly of our dear little princess Shongile, but she's not sitting on the mound this evening, unfortunately. And if we fail at Treehouse Dam, we can always resort to going back towards Twin Dams and having a look around there to see if the royal cubs pop past, one of their favourite spots. They love it in Little Gowrie at the moment. Oh, right, let's keep checking here. Back over the tree stump. We were here. Craig, was I with you when we had swimming elephants that one night? Was that with you? I can't remember who was with me. It was VM. VM and I actually watched this tree get pushed down. This marula. If you remember that night, they were pushing all sorts of trees over. We had elephants having a pool party in the evening. It was lots of fun. But I see that it's been uprooted quite badly now. Okay, and the search continues. Let's see if it's dark enough for lights. Is it? Yes. Let's keep searching. And it's that awkward light now, not quite dark enough yet to put a spotlight on. Now, Karen, you're wondering if we have, speaking of Shongile, as we were a moment ago, you're wondering if we've seen her lately. I don't think so. I haven't had too much luck with the leopards. I haven't seen Shongile or Hosana, I don't think, since I've been back at work. No, I have not. Who have I seen? I've seen no leopards. No, I lie, I've seen Votomi. That's the only leopard that I've seen since I've been back at work. One, and he was fast asleep. So I'm definitely in need of seeing a spotted cat, or any cat really. It would be quite nice to see them again. I think we're going to go along Weaver's Nest. Now, the only thing I didn't hear was if Tingana had finished his kill or not on the south. So I do want to keep checking, and I think that's what Jamie and I are going to do, is we're sort of going to just keep circling like this behind each other, just constantly checking the boundary to see if he does go back, and then she'll go over my tracks to make sure that nobody has walked over my tire tracks, really. Now, I'm not sure what Byron's doing in the tent, but it sounds like he's staring at Vuyatela Dam.
I am indeed, Taylor, and good luck on your search. You've still got a few minutes, and I think you and Jamie might have some luck there shortly, hopefully. But we have spotted a beautiful herd of wildebeest at the dam cam, or on the dam cam, from the dam cam, near the dam. Shall we have a look at them? There we go, there they are. And it's probably that herd that we see regularly in this area. They move up to the area around Quarantine, the clearings above camp. It's nice and open there. and they spend most evenings around that area with the odd zebra and a number of impala. It's always nice to see the wildebeest. I think what they would have done is possibly have gone for a drink, quick little drink, last drink for the day, and then they'll head up to the clearing for the night. Nice to see a big herd like this. It's obviously safer out on the clearings for them. They don't have to worry about being ambushed by predators. They can at least see them coming. So that's why they do stay together and stay out on the clearings. Just like the impala and just like the zebra. Now, Nats, it sounded like Nats. You asked, is there any animal that is not afraid of lions? Well, I don't think so. And I say that because, so Max, I don't think so. The thing is, lions are, they are the top predator in the area. Even animals like elephant, who generally aren't in as much danger from lions, and I say generally because there are areas where lions hunt elephant, but big elephant aren't in any threat by a lion at all. There's no chance. We've been seeing a lot of bull elephants around. There's no chance a pride of lions will be able to get those big bull elephants. However, the elephant, even though they probably know they're not in danger, if they see those predators, they still chase them. They don't like them to be close to them. So even the large animals, I would say adult rhinos are highly unlikely to be attacked by lions. But a case of saying they're not afraid, no, they're still nervous, they still don't like predators, and they will still chase them. So a case of animals not being afraid of the predators, no, not at all, or being afraid of lions, no, they are still nervous, they are still wary, and if they see them, even if they're not afraid, they'll still try and chase them away, because they are a predator nonetheless. So Max, I hope that answers your question correctly. Now, just quickly, something that Jamie was wanting to show you, unfortunately didn't have a chance to, but she's mentioned the greater honey guide, so I just thought I'd show you a picture of it because it is a lovely bird, very beautiful bird. That is the greater honey guide, and I think it was that same one that Steph followed. I'm not sure if some of you remember. I also then a few weeks later also followed the greater honey guide, and it took me to the same beehive. Apparently we were with Herbert, and he said that it was the same beehive, and it was amazing. The first time I've ever followed them properly, because sometimes you can take quite some time, and we followed it. Must have been about 3 kilometers. We followed this greater honey guide. Now they do a chirping sound when they sit on the trees if they want you to follow them. It's like a constant trr, 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 and they want you to follow it, and it sounds exactly like that. They want you to follow it, and then as you walk, they'll fly from one tree to the next and get you to follow them. And then the other call they do is that Victor, or what sounds like Victor, 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 Victor. That's a sound that a greater honey guide makes, but that chattering is when they want you to follow them, and you follow them, and they will take you eventually to a beehive. But there's a wonderful folk story about the honey guide, and that a lot of the locals do believe this, and the tracker I used to work with, he definitely believed in this. He said that if you follow a honey guide and it takes you or leads you to a beehive, you need to break open the beehive, obviously take what you want, but you need to leave honey and some wax for that bird, and to reward it and to say thank you for taking you to the beehive. And if you don't, that's probably a very bad thing to do. And what they believe is that later, if the bird sees you again and then decides to lead you, and you think you're going to be taken to a beehive, it might take you to a hole in a tree where there's possibly a black mamba to teach you a lesson. So that is what a lot of the locals believe. And my friend Judas said, you must always be careful. If you follow a honey guide, make sure you leave some bee or honey and bee wax, because otherwise next time you might find yourself in a little bit of a pickle. Now let's go and find out how Jamie's tracking is doing on her side.
I've been distracted by my tracking for just a few moments. I just wanted to do a very quick check of the hyena den. You never know, this time we might be lucky, although they do say that the definition of madness is, what's it, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. But that's okay, we're all mad here. Hoping against hope that our little cubs might be out. Hello? Is anybody home? Also, you know, it wouldn't be the first time if we found a leopard sitting on top of that termite mound. But there's definitely no hyena cubs there. I don't see anything. No leopard there. And no little hyena cub faces poking out either. Oh well, worth a check. If they had been around, then we could have put them in infrared and we could have watched them in the darkness. I was hoping Ribbon might be here. No such luck. So the search for Tingana must continue. It is in the right area from where Taylor described he might be going. So it was a possibility. That's a question that we do get occasionally that's come through from Debbie in Vancouver, and it's a completely fair enough question, which is, why don't we track hyenas? I thought I saw a leopard on a termite mound, but it's my imagination. Well, why don't we track hyenas like we track leopards and lions? The answer to that is, first of all, they cover such enormous distances that it is almost impossible to actually catch up with them. Oh, it's really, really difficult. The only time we ever really end up tracking hyenas is when they're dragging something, when we're following a drag mark, and that's usually back to a den site. We do actually occasionally track hyenas. I followed hyena tracks not so long ago and ended up finding a random buffalo carcass that nobody had any idea was there. So we do occasionally do it, but they move very quickly, and they're probably one of the hardest animals to track, I would say. If not, they're not at the top of the list. The top of the list would belong to some of the smaller cats, things that weigh slightly less than a hyena. But to track them down is really difficult, Debbie, and ultimately they will take us into places where we just can't follow them. What was nice was that bushwalk that we went on a couple of weeks ago, where we found Ribbon's resting place, where she likes to go and hang out when she's not looking after the cubs. And I think basically just so that she can have the opportunity to have a little bit of space and some peace and quiet. And we found that, and I've never actually bothered her there since. I don't want to take a vehicle in there. I don't know if she goes there every day. Judging by the tracks that we saw, there is a strong likelihood that she does. Maybe not when it was rainy and cool, but on hotter afternoons, there is a good chance that she hangs out there. But I just feel like if we start bringing a vehicle in there, she's just going to move. She won't rest there anymore, and that feels distinctly unfair. We do occasionally do it, but it's really difficult. It's like following hyenas. Have you ever noticed how we don't try to follow a single hyena through the vegetation all that often? And that's because it's kind of ends up being like following wild dog, except there's only one. So at least with wild dogs, if you lose them, there's a whole pack that you can try and follow. Whereas with hyenas, it's just the one, and they have a way of disappearing. That's why the den sites are so important for us, at least, in terms of really spending time with the hyenas. Den sites and big kills that they've managed to keep for themselves. Well, let's see, we could find Ribbon on her way back to the den site now. We could find Chameleon, who knows? Cosmic Traveller, you've asked a question that I'm not sure there's a simple answer to. Now, Cosmic Traveller wants to know what's more territorial, lions or hyenas. Both are territorial, both do defend territories. I'm tempted to say hyenas because I've seen more hyena territorial clashes than I have with lions. Generally, lions actually will try and avoid each other. Occasionally, I mean lion prides. I'm talking about lion prides now, because I'm not sure that you can really compare hyenas to male lions. I think that gets a bit complicated. I've seen more clashes with lion prides, with hyena clans, than I have with lion prides. It does happen. I know that the Nkuhumas and the Sticks got into a brawl around sometime last year, and the Nkuhumas chased the Sticks away. It does occasionally happen. It's a difficult one. I guess lions are very, very territorial. They do spend a lot of time marking their territory and patrolling, but so do hyenas. That's why they do that whooping call. But it's also different in different parts of Africa as well. In places where hyena clans are absolutely enormous. 40 animals, 50 animals, 100 animals. So it's really, I'm struggling to answer that. I'm not sure that you can compare it in that kind of manner to say which is more territorial. I think they're both probably equally territorial. But I'm happy to open up that question to Taylor and to Byron, get their opinions on it. I don't think a self-respecting chameleon is going to be in a buffalo thorn, but you never know. No. My imagination. No chameleons there. Right, we've posed a question. Let's see how Taylor feels about the subject.
Well, Jamie, I must say, I think that I have to agree with you and say that hyenas are more territorial. And I'm not sure what you've said about it, so I hope I don't repeat. But I think the entire clan of hyenas actively marks territories, so they with a form of an anal pasting, of course. I haven't seen it here, but in the Eastern Cape we used to see both brown hyena anal pastings as well as spotted hyena anal pastings on the grasses just next to the road. It was always really nice to spot. And then of course you'll see those middens that the hyenas will make too. And I think because both sexes are doing it, whereas with lions it's only the males that are marking the territory, so it's really only left up to the male. The females don't have territories, they have home ranges. They will sort of live in areas, but they're not actively declaring that the space is theirs, where hyenas do that. Almost every single night we hear hyenas from everywhere, far in the distance, some responding to the ones that are calling down onto Arathusa, you name it. So I think I agree with you, Jamie. Let's go with hyenas, but we can always do a bit more research about it and see if there's maybe some studies that have been done along those lines. But very, very interesting question indeed. I've actually moved away from the area because I've now driven round and round in circles, or a square, for the last 45 minutes and haven't had any luck with that leopard. So if it is Tingana, he's really playing games with us and testing our patience this afternoon. So I've come a little bit further west and we're just checking around here at the moment. So I believe that there is a request at the moment from all of you this evening, from all the viewers of course, if Jamie and I are going to be doing a chameleon off. Of course we can, and well, Jamie's already taken the lead because she's got her first one.
Did somebody say chameleon competition? Well, yes, now I'm absolutely up for a chameleon competition. And in fact, of all of the various guides out here, Taylor's my favorite one to compete with, because I don't think either of us are very good at taking ourselves seriously, which makes for a truly fun competitive spirit between the two of us. I don't know, I think Taylor would probably agree. Oh, I'm blinking, cleaning its eyelid. I love chameleons. Look at that neatly coiled tail. We saw two, was it last night? I can't even remember now. Was it two last night on the sunset safari? It all blurs into one. But yes, I think there were two last night. And this one has got some interesting patterns on its side. Almost looks like a face. Two eyes and a mouth at the bottom. My favorite thing about chameleons is their eyes. Well, and their hands, and their tails. Okay, I don't have a favorite thing about chameleons, but I really do like their eyes, and the fact that they can move independently of each other. I wonder what that would be like, to experience that. Imagine you looking ahead of you with one eye and behind you, almost completely behind you, with the other. I'm astounded at the number of chameleons we've seen. Did you see that nictitating membrane? Our boy 368, good question. You want to know if the spotlight affects the chameleon's vision. No, not in the way that it might something like an impala or a diurnal animal like that. Although chameleons are moving about during the day, they also tuck themselves up at night, and I'm not too worried because he's not going to go wandering off into the darkness. This is where he's going to stay for the evening. However, as a sort of a courtesy thing, I always sit and make sure that I don't shine the spotlight straight at them. So my spotlight, the actual beam, is down here. See that? The actual beam is down there, and it's just the light around the edge that is catching it and illuminating it. So that's where the spotlight sits, and there's our chameleon. Now, I try not to, I do it even with the animals that it doesn't actually affect. With things like lions and leopards, I prefer to keep the spotlight from shining directly in their face. I'd rather bounce it off the ground next to them. So no, it's not going to endanger the chameleon in any way by shining on him or her. I don't know. I haven't asked. It's not something that we do need to be concerned about. And you can also see just by the chameleon's response. Occasionally it looks at us, it looks in our direction, then it looks away. It doesn't have that dazed and dazzled expression on its face that the diurnal animals do when they get, whenever we catch them with the light. Oh, hi, Bacon. That's my new favorite name. Oh, hi, Bacon. I had to just check that I'd heard that name correctly there. But I did hear that name correctly. Oh, hi, Bacon. You want to know why its tail is so neatly curled up into a spiral? That is just how they settle themselves at night. I think it goes into trying even more so to pretend to be a leaf. And a trailing tail is a, potential giveaway. So by curling it up and tucking itself upwards, it's trying to make itself look like a leaf of this bush willow. Which it does. It absolutely does. And that's why I think that's why they spiral their tails up like that. Because it's not moving, it doesn't need to use its tail for balance. Oh, I knew that as soon as we laid down the gauntlet, Taylor would rise up to the challenge. She has just caught up with us, and we are tied 1-1.
Jamie, well, I'm only following and learning from the best, of course. So yes, I thought that I would try my luck in finding a chameleon. And you can ask Craig, I was feeling a little bit concerned at one point that we weren't going to spot one, but we have indeed. We've moved away from all the silver cluster leaves, which I've never seen a chameleon on before. But the bush willows are a solid tree. I don't know why they like to favor the bush willows so much. They're not eating vegetation, so I wouldn't think that a tree would make a difference. Perhaps it's because the leaves are so tightly packed together that it does provide a nice bit of shelter from, insulates firstly, keeps the warm air in, and then also protects them from the wind and all those types of things. But one chameleon to us. Let's go and search. We're on Rebecca's Road at the moment, and this could potentially be a good spot. So let's quickly see if we can't pick up a second one and sneak into the lead. Hang on, let's have a look here. Now, I always love competing against Jamie, just because at the end we don't really mind who wins at all. It's always quite nice, it's always very fun. But when it comes to challenging Brent, I try my absolute hardest to beat him. He's so competitive. So when you do get the slim chance of beating Brent, because he's very good at birding and finding the birds and looking for chameleons and all those things, it is really nice to brag about it, because you can really just see deep down inside how much it hurts, which is quite funny, where the rest of us, we don't actually mind at all. It doesn't bother us. So we always have a good giggle at that. And it'll be nice to see if we can have chameleon challenges from Kenya as well. I don't actually even know what type of chameleon they would get there, whether they get them or not. I'm sure they should. So that would be quite nice. To be honest, I haven't had an opportunity just yet to start doing too much research on Kenya, but I'm going to be scouring second-hand bookshops when I'm on leave, searching for old prints of books from East Africa, to see if I can get my hands on them, because I haven't got even a bird book. I've got an African bird book, which of course I can use, but nothing specifically made just for the Mara. But I'm sure that there will be something like that out and about. It just entails us doing a little bit of research. Come on, this is such a good area for chameleons. Surely we're going to find more than one here. Otherwise, our next bet is going to be Philemon's Dip, which is where I've found 3 chameleons in a row before. So that might be our other bet, and we're not far from there either. But they like it here. I think it has definitely got something to do with the densely packed trees. Provides lots and lots of shelter around here. Craig, what do you think? Do you think we'll get one more?
Yeah, I
Think so. Not too optimistic. Craig, he doesn't say anything until you're seeing it. Okay, we're not having luck here. Let's quickly zip out of this dip. Woo! Hold on! And then let's quickly go into Philemon's Dip, which is just around the corner, and that seems to be my lucky spot. Hopefully I haven't jinxed myself now, but I'll Ferrari safari over there, because I know we don't have very long until the show ends. Come on, scrub here, we're searching for chameleons. Thank you very much. So I'm on super scan at the moment. Just no, I won't do that. I'll make you all sick if I use the spotlight like that. Okay, here we go. Philemon's Dip. Will it prove to be its good chameleon spot tonight? I hope so. I really do. Okay, I need to concentrate, because I'm not going to miss anything. Checking the tops of the trees. The other thing that you can do also, sometimes I've found, actually not sometimes, a couple of times I've found chameleons in marula trees, which has always been quite a goodie. Check here on the overhanging branches, some nice branches sticking out. Check even on the grass. Check on the tops of the trees. Lots of moths and butterflies resting about, but we're not looking for them. We are on Chameleon Challenge, and we can't have a tie. We need to have a winner. Oh no. I don't want to link to Jamie. I want to find one more chameleon, please. Marula tree, be kind to me. Okay. It seems as though I'm not having much luck with chameleons, but I'm going to keep on searching. Now, Jamie's obviously another contender in this competition. Byron can't play because he's stuck in one spot, but let's go and see if she's managed to find a second one.
Don't worry, Taylor, I'm not having any luck either. I think this evening's chameleon challenge might end in a tie. That's okay. I'm okay with that. But it has been fun. I didn't even think about having a chameleon challenge. If only we'd thought of that last night when I found 2 in one go. And that worked out really well in my favor. And I agree with Taylor. I think we should continue the chameleon challenge while we're in the Mara. There are different species of chameleons there. It'll be exciting to see something different, because of course we only have one here that we see, which is the flap-necked chameleon. Come on, chameleon! We've got to find one. No point in going too fast, we won't find one. Try to cover ground as quickly as possible. No point in doing that. Oh. Will I look in the right place at the right time? Okay, over to Taylor.
Oh, Oh, sorry about that. The gremlins are attacking Jamie. They're obviously on my side this evening and don't want Jamie to win the chameleon competition. 30 seconds to go. Will I be able to, well, find a chameleon in time? I'm not too sure, but I hope that you enjoyed the safari. I think Jamie can have the award for the chameleon, but like I said, a big thank you from all of us here. Have a wonderful evening, and we will see you most definitely tomorrow morning on the Sunrise Safari.